Hello, so I'm going to be talking about Benjamin Franklin and his love and desire for writing. So, in his early years, Franklin wanted to become a minister. He quickly dropped that idea when he found his enthusiasm for reading and writing. His father knew to make him a printer once he saw how enthusiastic Franklin was about his reading and writing. He was put into grammar school unlike the rest of his brothers, who became apprentices. He did great at that school, then was sent to another one to develop his writing skills. And then a quote from chapter 1 that I found that just kind of reiterates that is, I was put into grammar school at 8 years of age, my father intending to devote me as the tithe of his sons to the service of the church. So that's kind of just saying that he was actually put into grammar school before his father kind of saw his enthusiasm for reading and writing, and it was more to help him when he became a minister instead of just a printer or a writer. So in his teen years, he started working for his brother James at his paper called the New England Courant as a delivery boy, and that was said to be the second newspaper in America. He published some of his writings anonymously in the paper, which his brother praised without actually knowing that Benjamin had wrote those articles. And then I know Professor Johnson also mentioned that the article could have possibly gotten his brother put in jail, which stirred up a lot of things in the family, where Benjamin had to end up taking over while James was put in jail. And then once James was out of jail, he couldn't go back to running it, so Franklin had to. And then they kind of got in a fight, and Franklin ended up leaving at the age of 17, where he tried to go to New York City to find a job, and he didn't find anything there. So he went to Philadelphia, where he heard of Andrew Bradford and was hoping to get a job with him. So his trip to Philadelphia, he went to find work with Andrew Bradford, like I just stated, but he didn't have any work for him. He was set up with Keimer, who ran a different printing shop, and then he found out that they were both quoted by Franklin, poorly qualified. And then kind of another quote from chapter 3 that I found was, these who printers are found poorly qualified for their business. Bradford had not been bred to it and was very illiterate. And Keimer, who something of a scholar, was a mere compositor, knowing nothing of press work. And so then he ended up finding John Reed, who Franklin ended up later marrying his daughter. So furthering himself, although Franklin has been a great writer his entire life, even being somewhat arrogant about it, he was constantly striving to do better. He refused to work for people he didn't think were qualified. So kind of an example of those two were the Bradford and Keimer from the previous slide. He wanted to improve his language by meeting with an English grammar. He learned to be more humble through this meeting and dropped his abrupt contradictions. As Benjamin started in chapter 3, his journey to find a new job not only helped him find himself, it also helped him further his writing by making him venture out and meet new people. Later in life then, Franklin begins to publish many works throughout his lifetime. Without the things he went through in his early teens, he would not have had the opportunity he did to expand his horizons and better his writing skills. So, early on, if he wouldn't have been fired, or if he wouldn't have quit working for his brother James, he would have never had the opportunity to venture to New York and then further to Philadelphia and everywhere else he went in life. He probably would have stayed there and not learned anything more about his writing. So then a quote that I found in chapter 12 was kind of going off the idea that Caitlin had posted about, which the quote is, "I mention this industry that more particularly and the more freely, though it seems to be talking in my own praise, that those of my posterity who shall read it may know the use of that virtue when they see its effects in my favor throughout this relation." And that kind of just goes back to what he learned again, where at the beginning, like after his teens, like mid-age, he was really full of himself, and he finally like learned that it's not all about him and how to just be more humble about things, and kind of just showing how everything he can make relate back to everything that happened in his life. So that's it. Thank you.